Hanagaki Takemichi, a very interesting character. He's someone that at the very beginning, not a lot of people like, since, well, he's a crybaby, hence the name he has, the crybaby hero. That is something that hopefully would change in Season 2, considering that a lot of things happen in the later arcs after Season 1 that turns our protagonist from a crybaby hero into a badass delinquent. But for this video, we'll be showing more of Hanagaki Takemichi's strengths and how strong he is. So, join me, Green Warrior 291, as we explore the progress of our crybaby hero's strength throughout the entire story, from the beginning of Season 1 to where the manga ended. So there will be spoilers, by the way. Let's begin. In the beginning of the story, his 26-year-old self is definitely weak, though comparing himself from 26 to himself from 14, we could say that it would depend on the mindset of Takemichi. But for now, we can just say that Takemichi is weak, at least the one that we're following. Level 0, if anything. So when he deals with his first obstacle, that being Kiyomasa and his group of friends, that they are basically Toman members, so let's go with grunts in terms of what strength they have. The level of Takemichi, he has no fucking chance, him or his friends, so they all get their asses whooped. After a few more beatdowns, he does eventually get the courage to truly face Kiyomasa, prompting this as Takemichi's current level of strength, per se. Basically, he takes a good beatdown and he's not as easily defeated like he was at the beginning. So, if we're going by his strength from this arc, he is below average of a regular Toman member. Yes, we can possibly conclude that each division Toman members have different strengths and all, but that's not the point. The point is, by the end of the Toman arc, we can say for sure that Takemichi has gotten a tiny bit stronger. Level 1. In this arc, a lot of things happen in terms of story, but our goal for this video is to see our protagonist's strength level increase. There isn't much in terms of fighting, per se, until the actual clash between Moebius and Toman. Though a little before that, he does get ganged up by Kiyomasa and a few members of Moebius, telling us, well, he's still weak as shit. Though, then again, an average person wouldn't fare well against a group of delinquents. Anyway, after being saved by Hinata and getting his motivation back, he is there during the battle between Toman and Moebius. During the battle, Kiyomasa manages to badly injure Draken, forcing Takemichi to be the hero, since he's literally the only one capable of doing this. And the fact that he's able to carry Draken, which probably, by the way he's designed and looks, he probably weighs a lot more than what Takemichi can handle. But it gives us a good gauge of how strong he is and the endurance, since he's probably trying to move as fast as possible to get Draken to a hospital. In this very moment is when he gets his rematch with Kiyomasa. This is when Takemichi levels up from just a below average Toman member to somewhat average, because he actually does beat Kiyomasa on his own. No help from anyone, and no, oh, Kiyomasa was weak before this fight shit. Like, he actually beat him. In a fist fight? No, but even then, the fucker Kiyomasa pulled a knife and stabbed Takemichi, so that's also not something to count on. But given that Kiyomasa's strength could be at least average Toman member, if not a little above it, Takemichi's first obstacle had been achieved, showing us that not only he got his revenge, but he got the win by himself, with obviously Draken's life on the line. Reaching into the Valhalla Arc, at this point Takemichi has been appointed into the 2nd division as a regular member, and well, at the beginning of this arc's battle, Takemichi was able to punch a guy and cause them to be, well, knocked down. A regular Valhalla member was knocked down by Takemichi, who, by the way, he was still standing despite the beatdown he has taken throughout this entire, well, arc. solidifying his strength, placed as average, if not slightly, very slightly above average Toman members. That there's also the need to mention that Takemichi's endurance has increased as well, since he was already tired from the fight, but he was still able to keep standing despite taking a punch and a kick from Mikey, all to prevent him from killing Kazutoru. This for sure shows that our crybaby hero is going up in terms of strength. Now, here's where Season 2 spoilers come in, so just to warn you all about this. Anyway, here's where Takemichi actually goes into more conflicts. After being appointed as the captain of the first division, he has, well, a lot of respect, but also a target on his back. Being a captain of a division usually means you'll get into some sort of trouble, even if it wasn't because of one's doing. So the first thing we see is the Black Dragon attacking him, with Taiju charging at him and, well, beating the shit out of him. I say this is where Takemichi is above Toman member in terms of strength, because, well, no normal average member would handle the amount of beatdown that he took. They'd be out with 1 or 2 hits, especially from a beast that is Taiju. Yet, as said, it took a few, if not more than a few, to knock Takemichi out. Though he wasn't prepared for this encounter at all, and he could have possibly died without Hakai's intervention. Later on in this damn good arc, he does have another conflict with Taiju, trying to prevent Yusaha and Hakai from killing Taiju, working together with Mitsuyu and Chifuyu in facing Taiju, Koko, and Inupe. It basically shows his level of strength, that he's definitely gotten stronger within this arc. Although he is barely able to hold back Koko, it is interesting that during the fight, while preventing Hakai from going down the wrong path, he once again faces off against Taiju and, well, gets beat down again and again, only to keep getting back up again and again, until he and Taiju simultaneously punch each other on the face. And despite Takemichi being sent flying back, he did something amazing here. He made Taiju go down on his knees. That attack at first didn't face this monster, only for him to suddenly fall on his knees. By the fact that Takemichi still got back up, we can surely say that Takemichi has far outgrown any normal Toman member. If we're gonna say what strength he is at this point, he's probably low average vice division captain strength. As for his mental determination and endurance, it is very high, probably around what's appropriate for a division captain level of endurance to take the amount of punishment that he got. Now, obviously, had Mikey and Draken not arrived, then yeah, Mitsuyu, Hakai, Chifuyu, and Takemichi would have surely lost to Taiju alone, not counting the fact that there's also Inupe and Koko. But this shows that our protagonist is getting stronger. And then there's this arc where Takemichi certifies himself as a true badass. His first conflict is against a couple of members of Tenjiku, and in a normal 1-to-1 fight, it's possible for Takemichi to face off against, but when having possibly over 50 of them attacking him, Akun and the other two, then yeah, they're gonna get overpowered and overwhelmed, and was saved by Smiley and Angry as well as Chifuyu early in this fight. Another fight does appear, and that's after a few events from the future. He gets attacked by Mucho and is not only caught off guard, but is repeatedly punched until he was, well, unconscious. This isn't much of a fight since he was basically stabbed in the back by a fellow division captain and surely caught off guard, but the fact that he had to been repeatedly punched until Mucho felt that Takemichi was truly unconscious could say a lot of what another captain thinks of Takemichi's strength level. Now, skipping forward to the events of Tenjinku's 400 against Toman's 50, Takemichi does attempt to fight Kisaki, only for Kokucho, a childhood best friend of Takemichi, to interfere with that and start a fight with him. Now, Kokucho is very fucking strong, and to put into perspective, Angry in his blue ogre form was able to easily beat Mochi, and the two brothers, four strong delinquents that each are relatively strong on their own right, only to be easily knocked out by Kokucho. The fact that Takemichi can take some serious punishment from Kokucho and still mock him gives us a good gauge of just how physically strong in terms of fighting Takemichi has gotten. He can possibly fight the vice captains of Toman without just easily being knocked out, and his endurance has increased to be slightly higher than what a captain should be, possibly around Baji level of mental endurance. Hell, he even was shot in the foot by Kisaki and was not even faced by it, though one could argue that the rush of adrenaline and the battle caused him to not really give a fuck about the pain. Now, after the battle between Mikey and Izana, with also noting that Izana did kick Takemichi and he was still standing, there was the chase that happened, and a tired and injured Takemichi fights Kisaki. Hero versus Dark Hero fight, with both of them being on equal terms of strength. And this can, at this point, Takemichi, if he were fighting at full strength with no injuries, could have probably easily beaten Kisaki in a fist fight, with maybe some difficulty. Either way, this was Takemichi's second win on his own, since he was able to get the gun away from Kisaki with a nice kick, and he was also contemplating on killing the man. After all, he was the reason that Hinata dies in every future timeline. With Kisaki dead and Toman disbanded and a perfect future achieved, that should be the end of the story, no? Well, we still have 3 more arcs to go. The Bonten Arc and the final arc, part 1 and 2. In the Bonten Arc, it's actually very interesting since it mostly takes place in the future. Despite the fact that there isn't any fighting at all, really, there's something that we should say about Takemichi's strength in this arc: his fucking mental endurance. The dude was able to catch Mikey before the man yeeted himself with a attempt on his life, and was not only holding him while he's obviously injured, but fucking dying, since Mikey had shot him 3 fucking times. This says that even in the future, Takemichi's mental strength is just beyond normal. There isn't much to say here, since Takemichi doesn't really get into any physical fights, though unless you want to count him getting the ever-living fuck beaten out of him by Mikey to count as his fight. Though I guess we could say that he was able to take a beating from Impulse Mikey for some time rather than just being insta knocked out or insta killed by him. I suppose that can be an argument, but I mean, poor fucking Takemichi took the one hell of a beating. Now, here's where shit gets real. As the final arc, we see Takemichi shine the most by having him take one of Kokucho's punches from the beginning of this final battle before returning the favor and even almost knocking the man out. He obviously holds his own against some regular Kanto members before resuming his fight with Kokucho, and even being able to go toe-to-toe with him compared to when the two have fought in Tenjiku Arc, with Kokucho having overpowered him at that point. Now Takemichi is basically going toe-to-toe with him. He was able to also use his future sight, giving him a slight upper hand against Sansu that tried to kill his ass. And this future sight is used later. Now, obviously people don't like it, but that's not the point of this video. The point is that this future sight is still something that Takemichi uses that gives him a slight advantage in terms of being able to fight. Because let's be real, most of these characters have some fighting style, and Takemichi is just fighting at random. So you could see the big problem in terms of technique, but this video isn't about technique. Before the future sight becomes relevant though, he fought against Mikey by himself and seemingly was doing way better than in the Three Deities arc, since it seems like he's more ready here than, well, there. As well as taking one hell of a beatdown and still getting back up, which is just flashbacks to when he was fighting Taiju. And yes, with the Future Vision side, he managed to land one hell of a punch, as well as the second one, which didn't seem to come from a Future Vision. But lastly, he took on full Impulse Mikey, Dark Impulse Mikey, I should add, and lasted for a good while before, well, being stabbed and seemingly dying before going for one final time leap. We have no information here on how him and Mikey together managed to save everyone, which is a story issue, but for this video we can only assume that Takemichi probably had a chance to get stronger than he already was in the present or previous timeline, since he was with the others now. Hell, he's the acting president of Toman, so he's on the same levels of realm of strength to Mikey and Draken, considering that if he got stronger between Tenjiku and Kanto arcs, imagine him being with the others at the very fucking beginning of when Toman was created, all the way till wherever Toman had originally disbanded. He'll for sure have a shit ton of potential to reach Mikey, now that he's probably constantly in the middle of gang fights alongside the others. We just have no clue here, so we can only speculate and theorize on what Takemichi's strength could have been like. Honestly, it's impressive how far Hanagaki Takemichi has gotten. From someone who couldn't even handle a regular Toman member to someone who was able to stand up to Mikey of all people. That is quite impressive. Takemichi is a worthy character that should be considered strong. He beat Kiyomasa without any help. He took blows from Mikey to protect Kazutoru. His punch was able to make Taiju fall on his knees. He was the last fighter standing in the Tenjiku conflict. Took a life-death beatdown from Mikey in Three Deities conflict. Hell, he even was trying to save him despite being shot 3 times, and was able to stand up to Mikey in the Kanto conflict, not afraid of death. So, to gauge his strength, he is for sure Toman leader's strength. He is worthy of being considered as the captain of a gang level strength.
Only you can save my sister.